Hey man, sometimes you got to switch it up, right?
Fucking party time. Excellent.
Right. That's right. That's right. Speaking of, what'd you think of their Super Bowl ad?
Dude, I didn't see that one.
That was the Uber Eats one, where
I,
it was party time, excellent, eat local, but use Uber Eats, who eats up 35% of margin, which is basically all of the margin.
I have very strong feelings about Uber Eats. None of them are good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Anybody in the restaurant industry that I've come in contact with that has discussed any of those apps has basically said they're just all just straight garbage. Like if you do use them, they work okay, but they eat into so much of your margin that it's just not worth using them.
yeah, just hope you don't plan on making any money from your restaurant. That's all.
Well, right.
As long as that's the case, you're fine.
I mean, I guess you could make the argument that it's marketing to get more people to try your product that wouldn't normally have tried it. I guess, like if you chalk it up that way, I guess I could probably stomach it a little bit, but not like this, man. Not during these last 15 months.
Yeah, hard pass on that one.
Yep, yep. So here's what I was just reading an article. This is what I want to talk to you about, Mr. Social Media Digital Expert Guy. It was an article of the top 7 digital marketing trends for 2021. So I'm just going to throw these at you.
Lay them on me.
Number 1, social media will become a top channel for purchase instead of just discovery. Social media platforms like Facebook are making it easier for consumers to go from discovery to purchase without ever having to leave the platform. Do you agree with that? Why or why not?
I agree that it could. I think they got a lot of stuff to figure out. Mainly the fact is, do users want that?
What do you mean by that?
I mean that platforms, the social platforms that have taken the lead, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, they've gotten there because they always put the user first. And then you got an app like Instagram that literally went and put a shop now button where your likes and notifications used to be, and it wasn't overly well received. No change is ever well received on these platforms. But I don't know. I think it's one of those things that they'd have to find a really native way to incorporate it where people aren't going to feel sold to. I think that, we always call the social platforms, your quote unquote gateway drug to your website or whatever conversion type of funnel you want to run. But I don't know, man. I haven't seen anything yet that feels like they hit it. It could, but you're going to need, like, it's going to have to, like what Facebook did with Marketplace, where that's just another channel within the app. So, I mean, if you can figure that out, like, that's awesome. But there's a lot of moving parts to it. I don't think it's as close as people think.
Have you ever bought anything on Instagram?
I've bought things that I saw Instagram ads for and then went to the website.
But you didn't transact on Instagram itself?
No.
Have you done that on Facebook?
No.
Have you done it on Marketplace?
No.
See, I've actually done quite a few transactions on Marketplace. A lot of sneakers, a lot of home goods stuff. I actually think I bought that futon right over there on Facebook Marketplace. I'm starting to. I was never a big Craigslist guy. I don't know. I know there's some people that just absolutely swear, swear by it, like they have the app and the whole thing. I've never been a big Craigslist guy, but I find myself searching on Facebook Marketplace first when I want to find something. I really do.
Well, I mean, I think it's the nice part about it is that it's it's tied to people's personal pages, so it feels a little less serial killery. But yeah, I mean, listen, man. Anytime you have you have the audience and you have the attention that these platforms have, like obviously, it's a massive opportunity to expand on that. But the key is that they're going to have to do it in a way that the users want to do it. And I don't think they're there yet. Obviously, they're infinitely smarter than me, so I'm sure they have hundreds of people figuring it out. But I think there's significant steps to go between where we're at now and it being the number one conversion platform or whatever you want to call it.
Are you transacting on TikTok? Are you finding out about stuff on TikTok, then going to their website?
I'm starting to more. I think the thing with TikTok, I mean, it's 2021 and there's a lot of brands that still haven't figured out Instagram yet. So the fact that, we're expecting them to figure out TikTok is tough because a lot of people like go the influencer route. But one thing that I think you see is Taven making an appearance. I think he just secretly wants to be on the show, to be honest.
Be on the show? You want to come show your hair off? You
gotta
see. It's quarantine hair number 2. Huh?
Just got out of the shower.
That's a look, brother.
Isn't that a Patty Mahomes look?
Literally, yeah.
Yeah. He was going after. He wanted to get the the State Farm discount, so he got the Patty Mahomes haircut.
Goes without saying. Taven, have you ever saw something on TikTok and then went and bought it, or asked your dad politely to buy it?
Maybe. I'm not sure. A few things maybe, yeah. Like food.
What kind of food?
What kind of food?
Healthy food.
Like, he loves, his favorite restaurant is Core Life.
I think chocolate rice cakes.
There you go.
Did you buy them on TikTok or did you just find out about them and then where did you actually make your purchase of them?
Just in like normal stores like Wegmans or Tops.
So he texted Siobhan. Siobhan went on the Wegmans app on lunch break. She was over near Western Lights in Syracuse. She picked him up. She picked up the groceries on the way home. She went to like the In-N-Out. It's like you never have to walk into a grocery store again, ever. Mm-hmm. Nobody. He'll never have to go grocery shopping ever. It's crazy. Is that all you bought? What about the number? You know what it is? It's a lot of it's YouTube. A lot of it's like Nelk Boys, like
Danny
that.
Duncan.
Danny Duncan, like the sweatshirts, all the merch on YouTube.
I have one upstairs.
I know. You're not allowed to wear it out.
No, not near mom.
She doesn't watch the show, I hope.
No, I don't think so. I don't think she's in right now. So, all right. You going skiing?
Yeah, I got to text you.
All right. There's money upstairs. Have fun. So there you go. Right out front, right from the 14-year-olds right there. All right. Trend number 2. Oh, this is a good one. I like this one a lot. Virtual events started out of necessity, but are here to stay because of ROI and accessibility. In the face of COVID pandemic, events became virtual out of necessity. As we move forward into 2021 and beyond, many events will stay virtual, not only because of continued safety concerns, but also a result of lessons learned in 2020. Companies found that by going virtual, they opened up their event to an entirely new audience as virtual events and more accessible than in-person events. What do you think about? Did you watch virtual events? Will you continue to watch virtual events, or are you the I can't wait to go back to the concert guy?
I think you know the answer to that question. So I think that it'll be a nice extension. I think a significant amount of people, particularly under the age of 40, will run as far away from virtual events as they possibly can. I think people are massively underestimating how much, and it's, again, different for every age group, but let's just say under 40 for now. I don't think people have any idea how much that portion of the population is dying to get outside and never have to look at another fucking Zoom screen unless they have to.
Sure.
So I mean, it'll be great. I mean, to continue to utilize like a lot of the infrastructure that people have built to do things virtually. I think it'll be a nice add-on for a lot of people, but I think if anything, the last year has done the opposite. I think it has renewed appreciation for in-person everything. So I would vote in the other column on that one.
I think it's weird. I've never been a big crowd guy. I've never particularly felt comfortable in a big crowd. I don't know if that's because I'm like a child of 9/11. I don't know where it comes from, or if it's just a personality trait of myself. Like I remember when I was a kid going to the Carrier Dome with my parents, and I remember when when you walk out of the Carrier Dome, sometimes they open up those big huge doors and you get blown, you get blown out.
Yeah.
I remember probably being probably Paige's age at this point. I remember just getting crushed there. Maybe I'm doing Psychosis live on the show right now, but I remember just getting like crushed in this crowd, and I'm like, I'm not a huge fan of this. So I've never been the big concert guy. I've never been the huge sporting event guy. I'll kind of quote Siobhan at this point is like when we got totally locked down last spring, she basically said, we don't really mind all of this, except that we want to be able to hang out in like groups of like 10 or 12 people. Like when they kind of released the restrictions, like back in the summertime when we were able to do that, I like my life was totally normal. Like we hang out with like the same 4 couples, like we're on the boat, we're playing pitch, we're playing golf. Excuse me, we're having a cookout. Like I don't yearn for that, and I've really gained an appreciation for the virtual events. Josh Grossvent is still doing his K-Rock party. He's still doing his dance party on like Friday nights. It's like one of the highlights of my week is like when he just goes and he does his DJ set for like an hour and drinks whiskey and has a great time. So I think they are here to stay. I just think there's going to be a certain segment of the population that just don't mind not going back to huge crowds and things. And if you can have it, I guess what I'm trying to say is if you can have it both ways, why not have it both ways? Like if you don't want to go to the concert at the amphitheater, but you can pay $15 to get a key to put in the live stream. Like, dude, I got a 65-inch TV upstairs. I got surround sound that could blow your doors off. Like, I don't need to be standing third row, watching Dave Matthews. I'll just crank it in my living room. But I might be in the minority there. We'll see.
Well, I think the big thing with that is, as a brand, it's your job to be prepared for both. The same way that you have people that prefer in-person or virtual concerts is the same way you have people that prefer in-person or order online and eat at home, and fill in the blank. It's your job as a brand, as a business, as a whatever in 2021 we always say, you don't matter. What do your customers want to do? Go do that.
Right. Exactly right. Jen says in the chat, nothing beats seeing the Grateful Dead at the Meadowlands in the 80s. Virtual events won't be for everyone. Totally agree. I totally agree. I mean, I just, for me, like I used to go to like wrestling events and things like that. And, yeah, I love it. And to Brian's point, the energy at a concert or while running in a race and the feeling and feeling the crowd cheer gives you that second win. Totally agree. Ben says, virtual's here to stay, but a hybrid will become commonplace. I personally can't stand the virtual, but understand why it's a necessity. I agree with all of those things. I think it's just going to come down to personal preference. And Adam's point is very, very well taken. You as a brand, or you as a marketer, or you as whatever, you need to be able to pivot and be ready to say, hey, 20% of my customers don't want to come in because my apple orchard is complete. It has 5,000 people there on a Saturday. No, that's not a great example, but I think all of your points are very well taken. Very well taken. Let's see here. All right. Number 3. Let me get to this. Of course, I lost it. Events will become more instead of scheduling events, they will become more community based. That's interesting, meaning that people will start to market them to their community as opposed to just putting them on a calendar and hoping people come. I got to get a little bit more context on that. I don't really understand that. You have any context on that at all, or understand?
I don't understand that whatsoever. Actually,
I don't either. Let's skip that one. That makes absolutely no sense to me. Sorry, I'm flummoxed now. That makes absolutely no sense. Informed buyers want to buy from informed brands, meaning buyers expect more from the brands that they buy from to understand them as much as they buy into the brands. It needs to be a 50-50 partnership. That's interesting. What do you think about that?
I 1,010% agree with that. I mean, that's
really interesting.
When you break it down, though, that's just a very eloquent way of saying all the shit that we say what marketing looks like now. It's about the customer. It's not about the brand anymore. You know, everything used to be, hey, this is our commercial. This is what we do. This is what it costs. Buy it. And now, I mean, like we talk about all the time, you know, you can't even write, even like you look at social media, you have to have 4 or 5 or 6 plans for every different customer group, you know? And like, you can't write a plan to target each member of the Riley house until you understand Ben and Siobhan and Taven and Paige. And all 4 of you, while the core of it, like where you're at, is the same, the messaging, the content, and the platform that you're going to respond to is way different.
Yep.
You know, and brands have to invest time in getting to know all that.
And here's the next one, just to piggyback on what you just said. Customer segmentation. Customer segmentation is not new, but we expect it to achieve new heights in 2021. Big tech companies like Google and Facebook have so much data stored on their users, they understand them on a deeper level than the human brain ever could. Manual segmentation is becoming obsolete. The goal is, of course, more engagement and customer retention, leading to lower costs and higher customer lifetime value. So the content that you're creating and the story that you're telling isn't the same for me, for Taven, for Paige, and for Siobhan. Each one of us have our own values. Each one of us look for different things in brands, and the messaging has to equate to hit each one of those segmentations. That's a perfect example of what you were just saying.
100%.
I love it. All right, a couple more. Number 5, SEO for voice search. Voice search is the next frontier of search engine optimization. More and more users prefer to talk into their search bars instead of type, whether they use voice-activated AI on their desktops or use smartphones like walkie-talkies. Where do you kind of fall in this thread right now? How high are you on it?
I don't know if that's a 2021 thing, but it's coming. You know, I think we joke about it a lot. We have a certain device that we use to play music in our office here. And I'll tell you what, man, like our enunciation has gotten a hell of a lot better over the last 3 years, you know? But I still don't think that it's native enough and efficient enough that that's going to take over in 2021. Basically being, we talk about it all the time. Time has never been more precious. If it takes me an extra 7 seconds because Siri or Alexa or whoever couldn't understand what I was asking, I'm going to get frustrated and just Google it, you know? And obviously like that technology has gotten way better by leaps and bounds over the last 2 or 3 years, but I think that we're still pretty far away from that for it to be a 2021 thing.
I think this just goes along with the platform discussion. You know, who are your customers today? Where are their eyeballs? And then who are your customers in 5 years? And where are their eyeballs? So I was having this discussion with we're talking about football or something with Taven a couple weeks ago, probably during the Super Bowl or something. And he was asking me, you know, he loves to get into debates. He's like, who are the top 5 running backs of all time? It's that, you know, or whatever. And, you know, I put, you know, Emmitt Smith and, you know, whoever, Walter Payton, the same 5. And then I go, well, you got to put Barry Sanders in there. And he goes, but he only played for 8 years. I said, you got to look up. I said, you need to look up some of Barry Sanders' runs and stats. I go, arguably the most electric football player ever, just with what he did. And I go, you got to look him up. And he goes, hey Siri, look up Barry Sanders stats. I go, wait a minute. I go, just Google his stats. And he goes, hey Siri, open up Google. And Google, like I say this to him all the time. I go, Taven, you're holding a computer in your hands. I go to Google. He doesn't even have the Google app on his phone. It's all Siri to him. It's, hey Siri, hey Alexa, hey, 20 minutes ago, it was their kids are getting ready to go to get picked up to go skiing. I said, what does the weather look like? And Paige goes, Alexa, what's the weather today? Holding her phone in her hand, and she couldn't even swipe up, open up Google, or even go to a weather app. I was like, holy cow. It's shock. It's absolutely shocking to me what's happening.
No, and that makes perfect sense. I mean, it's 100% coming. I mean, like we've seen it, the mainstream growth of those three things. I'm trying not to say it because it's going to mess up the music in the background because like you can hear when I say your name. But like you look at that, like when Taven and Paige reach like my age, I always look at like who's buying houses and buying new cars. Like to me, that's the generation that's the most important because that's where the highest dollar purchases are. So like for me, like right now, like we're kind of a hybrid, but like, 10-ish years from now, yeah, you better, look at Clubhouse, right? Like what's the hottest new social media platform now? What is that? Fucking voice. So yeah, that's the SEO and all of the mechanics everything that came with the digital stuff that we do now, you're gonna have to refigure it out for voice 100%. I just don't think that it's a 2021 thing. That's more of like a 2028 thing. Who knows though?
I think you're right. And this is the 80-20 rule. Right. I mean, this is the 80-20 rule you and I talk about all the time. It's like spend 80% of the time producing for your current clients, keep your current customers happy, but always know that everybody's aging out. It's the old adage that, once your mom gets on a social media platform, you eject. So once mom's on TikTok, you're off TikTok. So, it's the cycle, man, keeps going. And then the last one I have here is values messaging. The social turmoil of 2020 brings public awareness to the battle lines have been drawn. Consumers want to know where the companies they patronize stand on politics, racial, gender identity, and traditional values. This is really interesting. Do you find yourself, the question to you, and we won't get into the politics of it, but do you find yourself transacting with have either political or social views, and you feel as though it's appropriate to talk about those things?
You cut out a little bit there. I don't know if
I cut out?
I don't know if your basement Wi-Fi is on par with your kitchen Wi-Fi.
Okay, we'll go kitchen Wi-Fi.
Your kitchen Wi-Fi.
Do you find it's probably going to get loud up here? Do you find yourself transacting with more brands because they have a political voice and or social values? And do you think it's appropriate for brands to have political and social value voices?
So I'm going to answer that two ways. Once just as me as a person, and once as the guy that's in charge of a lot of brands' voices. As a person, as you know, I'm very, I learned a new word last week, centrist. Kind of in the middle on everything. So do I personally interact more or less with a brand based on their political values? Not really. Just because I look at it from a very wide scope of this brand is hundreds, if not thousands of people that are probably literally on every end of every spectrum. So to pigeonhole a brand, in a positive or a negative way doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me as an individual. As a dude who's in charge of that for a lot of people, I would go a little bit, just a kind of one step above that. I think it's important to have an authentic sense of what your brand's heartbeat is. Mm-hmm. And if that means making political or public statements or stances on things, like, okay, but it better be consistent with who you are. We tell a lot of our people, like, unless you feel really strongly where, like, as an individual, you want to make that statement, just the nature of social media platforms, I'm a big fan of staying in the middle and not going crazy with that, because we just, especially in the digital world, we like to pretend we live in a black and white world when we do not. So there is far more to lose than there is to gain there. But I think having an authentic sense of who you are and what you believe in is important. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, you're wearing you're wearing the Nike sweatshirt, and you think about Nike when because they've always kind of been, I wouldn't say political, but they've stood up for social views going back 30 years. I think they've always kind of had this edge and this attitude. This goes back, I'm dating myself, but this goes back to the Andre Agassi, the just do it, do it for the flash. Everybody says, just do it for the prize, but no, you got to be flashy while you're doing it, and every kid my age wanted to be Andre Agassi back in 88, 89, 90. We all wanted to wear the neon and have the hair and do the whole thing. So I think there's a way to be edgy and there's a way to be cool and have some social stances, because obviously when they came out with the Kaepernick stuff, 4 or 5 years ago, that was huge for them. Personally, I don't find myself transacting more or less when it comes with brands that have political views. I'm pretty much down the middle myself too. I was always taught growing up that you vote for the person, not the letter next to the person. So I've never been that way. I'm actually registered one way, but I find myself voting a different way now. So things evolve, things change. I'll give you an example. Another commercial, the Jeep commercial during the Super Bowl. It was Bruce Springsteen, and in the old Jeep. I'm not a big Springsteen. I'm actually not a Springsteen fan at all. I know I'll probably piss off people when I say that, but everybody was like, I took a picture of it and I put it on Facebook. I'm like, best commercial of the night, because it didn't really take a stand. It was like, okay, so it's the reunited States of America. I didn't think that was right or left. I thought that was kind of down the middle to say, hey, can we just get past all of this, no matter which way you leaned. And I'm assuming they were talking about the election, whatever, but no matter which way you leaned before, can we all just kind of bring it together, right, and kind of say we're all Americans here. I thought it was a cool message. Maybe I'm skewed a little bit because I'm a big Jeep fan, big Jeep guy. But I got
slightly biased there, but go on.
Absolutely biased, 100%. I'm very self-aware. But I was like, I didn't see it one way or the other. So I'm not going to buy Jeep more or buy Jeep less because they had a political commercial on the Super Bowl. I'm just not.
Right. And I think that there's the big thing. To me, I think what you saw, whether it was, firsthand of, COVID outbreak last March, whether it was, racial justice issues over the summer, whether you name it, the one thing that you can't do is come off as inauthentic.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of people, we joked about it on the show with the COVID stuff, that sent out the same, hey, here's how we as a brand who has nothing to do with anything in your life are dealing with the COVID pandemic. And said that people are washing their hands and they're distancing it. Like, nobody fucking cares, right? Or the people that, when all of the stuff happened over the summer, put out a statement, a vanilla, unsubstantive statement 8 days later. And it's so obvious that you don't mean, believe in, or, are even sincere about any of this. That's what you can't do. Like, if you choose not to take a public stance on it, great. That's your call. But don't wait and be the 13th person at the table to make a statement then.
Right.
You know, like that's what you can't do. Because that shows you have no heartbeat, you have no voice, you have no actual identity of who you are, what you're about.
And that's when people check out. The minute they see something like that that's inauthentic, you know, I think I read somewhere like the number one reason people unfollow a brand on social is if you keep posting the same thing that they can already find on your website, you know, so which is unfollow. You know, we're open, buy kind of message is not good strategy. But you're right. I mean, I think if you come out and having a stance is good. I think brands need to have, not need, I think some brands need to have some sort of voice when it comes to that. But I'm with you. If you're inauthentic, and the other word I would use is if you're insensitive to what's going on, you know, anything, if you're insensitive to what's happening either politically or socially or, you know, any of it, I think that could come off just as bad, if not worse, because all of a sudden, again, you're putting your own personal views and goals ahead of the people that you're trying to sell stuff to. Like that can be really, really dangerous if you keep going down that path. So no, I agree with you. I think I think those are both good thoughts. I think for me, it's, you got to find that sweet spot. And that's the hard part is this isn't, when we talk about marketing and branding and things, this isn't the stuff that you just work on from 7 p.m. to 10 a.m. It's from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. because it's the extra stuff. This should be the 9 a.m. to the 11 a.m. You know, I get it. You're making the muffins, or you're doing this, or whatever it is that your business is. But this needs to be, if not as important, just as important as the sauce that you make. I mean, it really, really does. How do you find that balance when you work with new clients or even older clients that haven't done it particularly well and they engage you? Where do you put this? How do you get them to buy in to putting this on their daily 9-to-5 agenda?
Well, I mean, it helps that by the time they engage us, they've at least made somewhat of a cognitive decision that that's important. Yeah. But, you know, pretty much like what we tell them, and the best way that we describe it is like, look, man, this conversation about you and your business and your livelihood, it's going to happen 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, whether you choose to be a part of it or not. It's just the world we live in. You know, the same way that 30 years ago, if somebody went to your restaurant or bought your vodka or, you know, bought the hoodie you made, they were talking about you after, in a good way, in a bad way, or in a meh way. So none of that has changed. The only thing that's changed is now you have an opportunity to be a part of it, to amplify good messaging, to show that you give a shit about rectifying bad messaging, or to be aware if you're getting meh messaging that like you got a meh experience for whatever reason. So that's kind of how we break it down, is like all of these platforms are doing. And it's literally the same way how you treat a customer when they walk in and you're behind the counter. That's all we're doing. So if somebody walks in, hey, how can I help you? Versus, Ben, good to see you, man. Where are the kids? Yeah, oh, yeah. Like, how's that going to make you feel? Yep. Okay, great. That's how all this works. We sat down with a client earlier this week and had this, not this exact conversation, but basically just that, having one unified voice and heartbeat and plan for who we are and what we stand for. And we showed them a certain whiskey company where the product and the logo and every bit of outreach, from shredded up sheet music to the rustic handwritten font on the wall, everything lined up. We knew exact to the verbiage on social where we say y'all and hell yeah, brother, and shit like that, because that's what that brand is, how all of it works together. And you look at that, and if we do it right, which I'd like to think we did, you know, in an instant, is this brand for me? Like, you know, so that's the conversation that we have. And, you know, it's just basically if you choose to embrace that. And when you bring it, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think the one trend I would add on top of that I didn't see in any of these lists that I was kind of looking at this morning is everything's getting faster, everything's getting accelerated, and guess what? So are your customers' BS meter. You know, people see it, they're seeing it so much faster every single year that goes by. Because guess what? These stupid trend lists and things, you know, yeah, I like to keep up on things just to see what other marketers and other brand people are saying. It's going to be the same thing in 2022. It's going to be the same thing in 2023. It's going to be the same thing in 2024. Yes, the platforms are going to move, and it's going to be a little bit of voice. It's going to be AI bots. It's going to be chat bots. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. But ultimately, it's all going to be the same stuff. And this comes back to the same 5 things that you and I talk about all the time is find out where your current and future customers are already consuming their stuff and tell a good story that is native to that platform. You know, that is the scoop. And for me, it's people can see through it so fast right now. And I think people are going to get, I think the brands that aren't doing it well or are stuck with my newspaper ads or stuck with my radio ads or stuck with my TV ads or stuck saying we're open, come buy our stuff. Those are the ones that are going to get shed off faster because they're putting their needs ahead of their customers' needs. You're not thinking about, okay, yeah, I stand with Colin Kaepernick and I'm going to buy more Nike because I thought what he did was a good political stance. I'm not talking about that. It's the day-to-day stuff. It's like you say all the time, give me the story that I can find on the behind the scenes DVD. You know, tell me the story of how to make the sauce as opposed to telling me where to buy the sauce because I can find the sauce on your website. Just keep telling me that story and keep tasting all these other things, whether it be, you know, go make a voice activated app. Just taste it. Just see how it works. Because if you're not selling it to me today, you're selling it to my kids because they will be your customers in 5 years. So I think for me, it's the BS meter has gone so, it's astounding to me how fast, just when you don't think it can get any faster, it goes faster. You know, I was on a call this week and we were talking about a strategic TikTok stuff. I'm starting to learn. I'm tasting about a TikTok strategy for a new client of mine. And the first question out of my partner's mouth was, is this authentic to the artist? Is this something that the artist would actually say? So we took a screenshot of it and we sent it to the manager and he goes, no chance he would ever say this, ever. He goes, you got to cut this in. He goes, he would use two words instead of 10 words. He goes, he would never text. It was like a text bubble conversation. Yep. He goes, he would never put more than 2 words in a text bubble, ever. And we were like, okay. So we learned that because his fans, you know, my sons of the world, if we posted that on TikTok or on Instagram and he saw that, he'd be like, yeah, he didn't write that. And he's out. He just checks out immediately. It's more important than ever to do that kind of stuff.
Well, and I think it comes to like everybody, like you're on the record all the time. So everything you say, everything you do, you know, it's just an opportunity to trip that, you know, like you see it all, like the people that anybody that tells you that influencer marketing doesn't work are people that gave their influencer a scripted thing to read the photo. Like, you know what I mean? Like you see it on TikTok all the time with these, you know, TikTok dancers that all of a sudden want to tell you about, oh my God, guys, I've had so much fun playing this app. No, you haven't, because we've never seen it until right now.
He's laughing right now because you're so right.
Thanks, T. And then you fucking look, and it's like, I've never heard from like people can tell when you got paid to promote this. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like if we just sat here, not that we have the audience yet, but I said, man, I love using, I don't even know, but like, it's just so like that. Yep. But if all of a sudden Strut Whiskey or Yingling Beer was on the show, like that's authentic as fuck because everybody knows that, right? Or like, so it's just wild to me how many people choose not to realize that. The fact that I'm halfway through that statement and then you start chuckling because Tatum's laughing because he knew exactly what I was going to say. I say, great, man. You guys keep fucking up and we'll keep doing it the right way. And then away we go.
I'll end on this. I got into a nice Twitter debate yesterday. I found my nice little, celebrity drink DTC niche on Twitter. Like I finally have started to kind of carve that out on Twitter. So I'm having some fun over there. And I got into a little bit of an exchange with. Are you leaving? Yeah. All right. Have fun. Text me. Be safe. Wear your helmet. And it was, all you have to do is just slap a celebrity's name on a drink and it's going to go. And I was like, this could not be a more false statement that I've read, ever. And he's like, please explain or whatever. And I'm like, well, there's a specific, and I won't say it, but there's a specific celebrity that just launched her own tequila brand. I'll say that. She just launched her own. Who could you
possibly be talking about, Ben?
Little tequila brand. And the first time anybody have ever heard of it, she was sitting down with 2 glasses saying, big day. I just picked the final blend for my tequila brand. And she got bagged on Twitter, like big time. And everybody's like, nobody knew you were doing this. Like they sat down with a 56-second video of her sitting at a conference table being like, yeah, you've been working so hard on this brand because you just posted a 56-second video that you literally just sat down 10 seconds ago and said, pick one of these 2. Like you're just grinding over the mouthfeel of the tequila. And it was like, I screenshotted this and I sent it to one of my partners and I go, see this? We will never do this. We will never, ever do this. It's sitting down and doing the first, I want to see the video of the person. I want to see the video of the person tasting their stuff, the first sample they get, and it tastes like complete trash. I want to see that reaction because I want to know that person is in it so far that it's not always perfect. We're not I guarantee you that was the 14th tequila that got consideration. I want to see number 1 when it tastes like freaking jet fuel. That's what I want to see. I want to see the 56-second video of her spitting it out because it's like bathtub gin. That's what I want to see. So for me, just to illustrate your point, it's just document the It doesn't have to be pretty. And to be honest with you, people are pushing back on pretty. Pretty is the new BS meter because the moment the lighting is perfect, the moment the shot is perfect, the moment the script is perfect, the moment the video is perfect, people are going to push back and be like, no, she hasn't been involved in this. There's no way that thing's going to $1 billion. No way.
Do you know who did, to really bring your point home? I have a pretty good idea of who you're talking about. Do you know?
It's not hard to figure out.
Do you know who did everything that you are saying and has a profile probably as big or bigger than this person and is quite literally setting month over month, quarter over quarter sales records for their own tequila brand?
I have a pretty good idea, but I want you to tell me.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He's so big that you don't realize it, but like go look at his Instagram a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. That motherfucker is literally he documented his process of actually doing everything you just said.
Yep.
Sample 1, sample 2, sample 3, and like literally saying, these are fucking rough, but we're getting closer. So on and so on. He didn't have to. Listen, like that man, dude, he could have put it out there and he would have sold hundreds of thousands of cases on name alone. But the fact that he did that and the brand and the name that he put on there and built for his tequila is so aligned with who he is as a dude and his origin story and all of that. And like, that's why like that will be $1 billion company with a B.
Why do Siobhan and I watch
the documentary of The Undertaker over the last 3 years, because it is a character that has been developed since she and I were 10 years old. When his music hits, it still gives me chills. I'm a 43-year-old man because of the character and story development that's happened over the last 30 years. The reason The Rock is going to win in Tequila is because he was a wrestler, learned character development, that you don't just go to WrestleMania and wrestle Stone Cold Steve Austin. You guys jab each other for 4 months, after SummerSlam, leading up to WrestleMania, because you have to build that hatred, build that story, build that animosity towards each other, so that the WrestleMania event is the biggest thing ever. The other said tequila brand, yes, it'll sell hundreds and thousands of bottles just based on the sheer name alone when she puts her name on the tequila. But The Rock's the guy that's going to go to $1 billion when he launches it. He's going to do probably 250,000 cases of this stuff this year. And oh, by the way, take that revenue, multiply it times 20, and then that's what he's going to sell it to some huge spirit conglomerate. Guarantee it. Market.
I think he actually did 400,000 in 2020.
It's just, but that just proves my point. Yep. You take 400,000, you multiply that number times 200 revenue per case. Then you take that number and you multiply that times 20, and that's what he's going to put in his pocket. Not a bad payday for a little storytelling, right?
Doesn't suck.
On that note, I got kids that are going skiing. So thank you. A lot of good comments today. That was fun. Thank you for joining us for episode 46.
I think so.
46. Episode 46. Adam and I always appreciate you joining us on Facebook, or if you're watching on YouTube later, Walking the Dogs, or Spotify, or I keep saying this. I got to get this stuff up. I'm so bad at this. I had time this afternoon. I can get it up this afternoon. We got to get Spotify and all that stuff going.
Let's go, baby.
Thank you for joining us live. We appreciate you. Have a great weekend, everybody.
See ya.